There has been some 111 calls released today from the Prime Minister's office to 111 because they got a heads up of the mosque tragedy 7 minutes before it happened. Now, there are going to be some who try and use this as a criticism. Why don't we just play the story first of all, then we can talk about it at the end. I've got a couple of thoughts around it. Here we go.
Tēnā tātou katoa, good evening. The inquest into the March 15th terror attack has today heard the 111 call made by a parliamentary staffer. The Prime Minister's office was alerted to the impending attack by the terrorist himself, receiving a detailed email 7 minutes before the first shots were fired.
The staffer gave the 111 operator Brenton Tarrant's name and the locations of the planned attacks, but said it was probably just a crank or a nutter who sent the email, and police didn't dispatch anyone initially. Juliet Speedy reports.
An email sent to Parliament by the Australian terrorist was received at 1:33 p.m. on March 15. 7 minutes later, at the exact time the first shot was fired at Al Noor Mosque, a parliamentary staffer thought he'd better call 111.
It appears to be indicating someone claiming that they've carried out an attack in Christchurch or planning an attack in Christchurch from a person by the name of Brenton, last name Tarrant.
During this call, Tarrant was arriving at Al...
I have to have a question about the framing that the news story is. Like, it's like they're framing it. We talked about this earlier with Gaza. They're framing it, News Hub, is that there was a 7-minute delay in them calling the police. This is an email that's gone to a generic box in the Prime Minister's office. I'm unbelievably surprised that anyone even saw it within 7 minutes, let alone actioned it. That's how I feel. Now, I'm not trying to defend the actions. There are going to be some things to change. But the way the story is set up is like, 7 minutes they waited and then they put the call through to 111. It's like I said, I've got 10,000 unread emails in my inbox. Imagine what the Prime Minister's inbox gets every single day, just that's open to the general public. I just wanted to state that, but we'll get to the end of the story as well.
Al Noor Mosque to commit mass murder.
It was originally aimed at Dunedin, but now it's aimed at the Lingwood Mosque.
And Christchurch and Ashburton.
So at this time, Parliament and now police had the name and age of the terrorist, where he was from, his planned attacks, the locations of them, and his reasons for doing it. But the staffer also told the 111 operator he was probably a crank and a nutter, saying...
And this is actually irrelevant because this is perhaps where the police fell down. It doesn't matter if the person from the Prime Minister's office said it's probably a crank. That's actually the police's job to take more seriously. The police don't take advice from the public servant. The police action a threat. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, I don't know if this is fair or not, but the news media is selling this, that because he said it was a nutter, the police didn't take it very seriously. I think that's where there's a fault and a failing. Yep, you keep listening, that's pretty much what they say.
And it will be a nutter, I'm sure.
You can see a motivation, which is white supremacy, and you're drawing conclusions that, of course, just a nutter and it will be a nutter, I'm sure. What do you have to say about that?
I've drawn some very quick conclusions, but still have those concerns that I felt needed to be reported through to police.
Is there training for terrorist threats for your organisation and the job that you're in?
Not specifically, because not for a terrorist threat as such.
Is there anything that stands out to you as something that you would have done differently now?
No, not at all. I don't know what more we could have done.
This answer provoked audible reaction from families in the public gallery. Other 111 calls started to come in from the public at the same time as this phone call. But this nearly 12-minute call ended with the 111 caller making it a priority 2 event. That is not urgent, and it ultimately ended in no one being dispatched and the event being closed.
The suggestion made by the caller that the email could possibly be a hoax, for this to have influenced the decision of the communicator as to the priority coding.
A phone call made with no idea of the murderous terror unfolding at the same time.
Well, Juliet, the coroner may recommend changes as a result of this inquest, but have any changes been made already as a result of this?
Yes, Sam, as far as the police are concerned, an inspector told the court today that a number of changes have been made since March 15, 2019, including better training and education for those police communicators and upskilling around terrorism and hate crime. And most importantly, all national security events are now, by matter of course, marked as a priority 1, P1, not P2, as happened in the phone call you just heard in my story there. But interestingly, the parliamentary staffer in that phone call told the court today that as far as he is aware, no major policy changes or changes to protocol have been made at Parliament in the way they would act if a similar threat was emailed in today.
So there's a correction there. And it seems to me, Chewy, to be like there's a big piece of information that we're missing here. And I'm not defending anyone here. I'm just thinking about the circumstances. So, for example, in America, I know it's America, it's not New Zealand, but there are 30 death threats to the president every single day. I wonder how many emails the Prime Minister's office gets like this, let's say each month, because we're only 1/70th the size of America, you know, of threats for violence, threat for harm, threats for attacks. If they get 10 a day, so this person's dealt with 200 of them in the last 20 days, and that's going to be too much. Let's say they get one a day, and they dealt with 300 of them in the last year, and every single one of those has been a hoax. They probably still phoned them through. They probably said, yeah, it's a hoax, but that then comes on to the police dispatch to figure out whether it needs to be treated more seriously or not. So I understand how the family has an audible kind of gasp when the person from the Prime Minister's office has said, I don't think I'd do anything differently, but I can understand that. Within 7 minutes of probably getting an email that goes to an inbox of, who knows, 500 emails an hour. Yeah. They'd phoned it through to the police. Then it's on to the police to decide what happens from there. So I'm not defending him, and I'm not trying to minimize the situation, but it seems that as soon as they knew, they pass on the information, and then the police need to make the decision after that. That's what I was sort of thinking.
Yeah. Like, I think Peter here in the chat has got it. You don't call 111 if you don't have a reason to. I think he was expressing a natural hope or denial.
But either way, that they should decide.
Exactly.
Like if you said to a homeowner, oh, there's a small fire in the front yard of your property. I think it's going to be fine though. It's just little. You know, I don't think there's a problem. It's just a little fire in your front yard. I think it's probably okay. And then your house burns down. I think that's probably on the homeowner to go, well, I'm calling the fire department. You know, I'm going to just be safe than be sorry. So that then also makes me think again, how many calls or emails do they get like this every single day? They might have led them to take it into a code 2, which from now on they definitely won't, obviously.
Yeah. And the shooter knew that what he was doing. He didn't send that email to get caught. You know, it wasn't like, oh, here's the way to stop me. You know, I find it interesting that that staffer said that they don't have any specific training around this sort of thing. Like, yeah. I find that surprising. Like, I mean, I work a very different job, but I know that my workplace has a procedure for dealing with bomb threats and threats over the phone and that sort of thing. That's the only part of the story that I'm having trouble with. Well, that you can't tell me the person that looks at the Prime Minister's office's email doesn't know how to deal with a threat out of nowhere.
Yeah, but he did say not specifically terrorist. I'm sure they've got training for some things. The call did say something about not specifically terrorist. Ricky says as well, except at the PM's office have intelligence analysts to give advice on this stuff. Yeah, and I think that's, again, if that's a part of it, but I wonder if this person, like you've just said, Chewy, they might have 2 people in the office that just go through the emails. Like they might be there holding. I've emailed the Prime Minister's office probably 20 or 30 times. I do every time I'm looking for a request for an interview. And I'm not much of a nutter. You know, imagine how many emails I actually get every single day. Maybe there's a person or 2 who just answer emails and forward them to the right person, and their job is to go, okay, what we should do with this. Maybe they check in with their boss and they call 111. And then it's in the police's hands. You know, that your job is to report, the police's job is to engage and decide. So if there's a failing, which there obviously is, it's going to be in the police. However, the other thing is, it was 7 minutes. So as the call went through to the police, Brenton Tarrant was walking through the front door of the mosque. Now, more calls started coming in as well. they said that in the article, more 111 calls started coming through as well. So why that was then marked priority 2, because they said it was a 12-minute call, and they called them as the gunman was walking in, which means it was for the first 12 minutes of the attack, right? So surely they would have had confirming texts or emails or whatever from other people that would have again stopped it from being coded level 2. That seems to be the failing.